Hi everybody, this is Taylor from ATAGO. Thank you for joining me today again for another webinar. Today's webinar we will be talking about the new CM Salt Alpha from ATAGO. This is not released quite yet, but it will be next year. So this is kind of like a pre-informational webinar so that you guys can get familiar with it and then make some inquiries once it comes out in the new year. So if you have any questions throughout this webinar, go ahead and put them in the chat. I think most people will be watching this later, so if you have any questions, please feel free to send us an email to overseas@atago.net, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So without further ado, I will go into the presentation. Okay, so we have the CM Salt Alpha. This is an inline Brix and Salt meter, which is really crazy cool because ATAGO is really well known for both our Brix meters and our salt meters, but now this year we've combined them and we've made hybrid instruments out of them. So you can get both measurements in one device, which is pretty amazing because I don't think anybody else out there is doing it quite like we are. So first, let's kind of review what is an inline meter. So an inline meter is going to give automation of concentration measurements. So that means that once you install it directly into your system, it's going to automatically take the measurements for you. So no actual person has to take a little instrument, take measurements from a sample taken from the system. So it's going to do all of that and not have to have a person do anything. Because it's taking the measurements for you, all of the measurements are in real time and continuous so that you're getting the data constantly. Also, it's going to be on the display, but it's going to be outputting the data as well. There's two different ways you can do that, via RS-232C or 4 to 20 milliamp, which is a recorder output. Also, just by getting an inline meter, you save on time and labor costs, and you can catch mistakes in production quicker. So if you're running a catch-up at the wrong concentration for Brix or at the wrong salt percentage, you can check it, you can catch it a lot quicker instead of having to wait for somebody to check it and then you find the mistake. So it's a lot better of a chance for you to automate and improve your system. So let's talk about the measurement method or methodology behind the CM Salt. So it's based off of two different types. One is going to be refractometry for the Brix percent and the conductivity method for salt percent. So if you look at the sample stage that I have here, so that's just the back of the instrument, you can see that it's not like your typical refractometer, but now it has an electrode added as well. So you see the two little circles for the electrode, and then on the right you see the glass prism where it will be using refractometry to take the Brix measurements. And you can see that it's taking it right there at the same time and the same electrode. So there's really not much you have to do as a user with that. So what can you measure with the CM Salt Alpha? Well, anything that you would usually measure the Brix or the salt of, as long as it's still a liquid. So that can be all of the different sauces out there in the world, brines, beverages, and more. So if it's a liquid and you measure the salt or the Brix of it, then it can be measured by BX Salt. So you may already know about ATAGO and our PAL series of handheld Brix meters. So we have, these are just the main ones I think that are most popular: PAL 3, PAL 1, PAL Alpha, and PAL H. So typically when you measure Brix in the food industry, these are the type of handheld instruments that you'll use. You may also know about ATAGO's line of handheld salt meters. So we have PAL Salt, and then our newer models of PAL BX Salt and PAL BX Salt plus 5. So these type of instruments typically require you to do a dilution with water in order to get the salt measurement. So like our regular PAL Salt and PAL BX Salt will require a dilution. But actually, PAL BX Salt plus 5 does not require dilution after you program a special scale. So actually, our CMBX salt is kind of like an equivalent or an inline equivalent to the PAL BX Salt plus 5 model. And then we'll talk a little bit later about what's a little bit different between the PAL BX Salt plus 5 handheld version and the CMBX Salt Alpha model. So let's talk a little bit about the transition from handheld to inline. So here we have our PAL BX Salt for handheld, but we have CMBX Salt Alpha. It's going to be your inline choice. So here's just some specifications so you can just kind of see the difference between them. Pretty similar, but a little different. So when we talk about the Brix range, or for measuring the concentration, CMBX salt has a very nice wide range from 0 to 93% Brix, so you're definitely going to be covered for pretty much all your samples. For the salt range, it goes from 0 to 15%, so that covers a lot as well. And then we have some good temperature ranges here. If you go above that, contact us and we'll see if there's anything that we can do for you in terms of that. So when you're transitioning from the handheld to inline, it's good to just know that for the CMBX Salt Alpha that you don't have to dilute the sample for your salt percent. So with a regular handheld salt meter, you have to do dilutions, and it's not just the salt meter. You would have to do some dilutions for some other measurement methods as well. Like if you're titrating for salt percentage, you have to do dilution too. But the CMBX salt is special where you won't have to do any of that. You just install it into the system. Your sample is going to be flowing through the pipeline or hose connector, however you have it set up, and it will just be able to measure the pure sample. One other function I really wanted to highlight for the new Brix Salt Alpha is the CIPS function. So CIP stands for clean in place. So that's when you have the inline meter installed, and then you have some type of cleaning solution, or maybe it's just water that's running through the system, running through the pipes, cleaning it out in between samples. So when you have the inline installed and you want to run CIP, you can actually leave it in there throughout the process, and that's fine. But there's also an additional function that helps you determine if there's any residual cleaning solution still in the pipe after CIP. So let's say you're cleaning with like a hydrogen peroxide solution and you run it through, and then afterward you're not really sure if there's anything still left in that pipe, so you run some water through it. What you'll do is you'll have the CIP function enabled on the inline refractometer, and it will measure that water and tell you if it is okay to proceed with running your next sample or if it's no good. So that is a really, really nice function to just make sure that you don't have anything left over after you're done cleaning. So installation, it's actually just like ATAGO's other inline refractometers. You can install it using like a pipeline fitting or a hose connector if you like. We have a lot of other webinars out there right now on our YouTube channel that talk about how to install inline refractometers, because it really just works the same way. So I recommend that if you want to see kind of more about how to actually install it, that you check out the Introduction to CM-based Inline Process Meters webinar that we have as well. So definitely think that is a good thing for you to check out. Okay, so I know that was really, really fast, but like I said, this is just kind of our pre-introduction to the CM-BX Salt Alpha before its actual release. If there are any questions or interest in the model, trying a demo unit or something like that, please reach out to us and then we can get you set up with that information. Do we have any questions currently? Okay, I don't think we do. So without further ado, I will end this super short, sweet, quick webinar for you. But please reach out to us if there is anything that you need. Thank you so much.